All right, boys and girls, I'm going to do a problem, a little help with chapter 6.6 today. This is pretty much going to be your last chapter of Unit 3. And today we're going to learn how to handle graphing inequalities and how to handle them with word problems. And these are different than your normal inequalities. In the very beginning of the year, we learned how to solve inequalities like this, where there was only one variable which we didn't know, in our problem. But now we're going to have two different things we don't know, which is going to change the problem a great deal. So this problem is saying that tickets for the school play cost $5 per student. Right away, what I'm thinking in my head is, I don't know how many students go, but I do know the price per student. $7 per adult. Again, I don't know how many adults are going to go, but each one will cost $7. And we know that they want to earn at least $5,400 on each performance. Now, if they're going to earn at least $5,400, that means that the money they need to get has to be greater than or equal to $5,400. Now, how do they make money? Well, depending on the number of students and adults come, I know that it's going to be $5 for every student ticket. And I'm going to make X student, and I'm going to make Y the adult tickets. So that'd be 7Y. Now, what we forgot to do is define our variables. So over here, I'm going to say let X equals the number of students, and let Y equal the number of adults. This way we all know what the X and Y stand for. And you might say, Mr. Katz, why did we make X students and Y adults? Does it even matter? Could I have done it the other way? It doesn't matter, but if you look over here at your graph, they've already chosen them for you. They've chosen that adults are going to be on the y-axis and students are going to be on the x-axis, which is why I made X students. Right inequality represents the situation. Here it is. This is your answer. This represents the situation of if you add up the amount that you get for students plus the amount you get for adults, it has to equal this much money. Graph the solution set. Well, this is a little bit difficult because this is in standard form. So I want to make this into slope-intercept form. So I can do that by subtracting 5x to both sides, and I'm left with 7y is greater than or equal to negative 5x, I'm just going to switch them, plus that original 5,400. Then I'm going to divide everything by 7. Now 5 doesn't go into 7, so I'm just going to leave it as y is greater than or equal to negative 5/7 x, and then I'm going to go ahead and do 5,400 divided by 7, and you get essentially you get 771.428. So I'm going to just round that to the whole number and leave it as 771 because you can't really have a decimal of a person. So now that I have this, I could go ahead and graph it. First of all, we're going to graph it just like we would normally. First of all, the y-intercept is 771, so I'm going to go up to 771, which would be about maybe here. And then I'm going to use my slope, which is negative 5/7. Now that means down 5 to the right 7. Now again, guys, remember, when you go down 5, you're not going to go down 5 lines because one line stands for, it actually stands for 150 people. So to go down 5 and over 7, I can either do, I could do one of two things. I could kind of wing it and think about where over 5/7 would be. Or if you notice that the x and the y are going by the same intervals, meaning if this is 300, 600, 900, and this is 300, 600, 900, in those cases I can actually use the lines to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then from there, I'm going to draw a straight line, but I'm going to make sure it's solid. Okay, and remember that should go through right there. And then I'm just going to have to go with my shading. It says greater than, so the shading's above the line. And there's my graph. Because remember, the shading's above because I don't want to limit the number of tickets. You could have as many tickets as you want, and you would always make over that 5,400. Now, next step. If 500 adult tickets are sold, what is the minimum number of students that must be sold? So I go over to 500 adult, which is right around here, and then I would go over to my line, and I could either estimate, but it looks like about 550. Because I want to make sure that the point is either on my line or in the shading. Next problem. Auto parts company can produce 525 four-cylinder engines per day or 270 V6 engines per day. So it wants to produce up to 30,000 engines per year. So X is the number of days that we'd be working on these engines, and Y is the number of days we'd be working on those engines. Therefore, you would say 525X plus 270Y, and it wants to produce up to 30, which means you don't want to go over, so less than or equal to 300,000. And then it says, are there restrictions on the domain or range? That means could X and Y be anything? Well, since X and Y are the number of days, X and Y would always have to be positive integers. Next thing, perimeter of a rectangle lot is less than 800 feet. So that'd be less than 800 feet. Write an inequality that represents the amount of fencing that will enclose the lot. Well, if you want to know perimeter, it's all the sides added together, or 2 times L plus 2 times W is less than 800, because it would say this is how you find perimeter, and you need the perimeter to be less than 800. Last one, just a reminder on how you graph. Here is a X and Y axis already made for you. Here is our equation, inequality that's in standard form. So, real quickly, I'm going to turn this into slope-intercept form by adding x on both sides, and that would leave me with 2y is less than x minus 4, and then dividing everything by 2, which leaves me y is less than 1/2 x, or x divided by 2, minus 2. Once you have that, we could use our y-intercept, -2, to go down to the -2 point, and then use my slope, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And then draw my, it's a dotted line because of it's just less than. And last, we have to do the shading. Because it's y is less than, the shading is below the line, which is right here.